afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today as we kick off a new and exciting series called Conversations on Leadership and Equity. My name is Adriana Rains. I am a Lead Boston alum and the engagement manager at YW Boston. Starting today, we're going to be diving into the stories, experiences, and insights of our leaders, aiming to deepen our connections, celebrate our achievements, and learn from each other's journey towards advancing racial and gender equity. Each session will feature a candid conversation with a distinguished Lead Boston alum, providing us with a valuable perspective on leadership, equity, and social change. Our guests will share their personal stories, discuss their impactful work, and reflect on how the Lead Boston program has shaped their leadership journey. I'm going to go over a few technical stuff for everybody. The session will be recorded. If you would like to opt out, please put it on the chat and I will make sure that it is edited before it is shared. Keep your mic muted and feel free to use the reaction emojis. If you lose connection, please sign back in. Feel free to type in your questions in the chat and we will address them at the end of the interview, as many as we can. Sit back and relax and grab your lunch. If you're in the office, relax as much as you can. All right, so today we are honored to have Karen Pfefferle, Lead Boston 2017 class, and the Executive Director of the Wellington Management Foundation. Karen, welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to build community with us. I would like to start by asking you to briefly introduce yourself and your current role and tell us a little about how you became involved in the field.
Sure thing. Thanks, Adriana. So yes, my name is Karen Pfefferle, and I was part of the class of 2017, which really struggled with Donald Trump's presidency, which was happening at the time. So it really did inform a lot of our conversations and influence a lot of our learnings throughout that year. So that was probably a unique opportunity that a lot of us experienced. I was at the time, and I'm still in the position of leading philanthropy and community engagement at Wellington Management, which is a financial services company here in Boston. We have a foundation, which is a separate 501c3 corporate foundation that was established in 1992. And so I lead that. I also am involved in other community engagements across the firm, including our annual appeal, our matching gift program, and the volunteer initiatives that a number of people across the firm help maintain and establish. I've been at Wellington for 21 years and I wear two hats. The foundation and this philanthropy work is certainly almost all of my work at this point, but I was hired as the first professional curator for the global art collection that the firm has. And I had a really awesome experience in the first 10 years at the firm of building that collection as the firm was growing globally, adding new offices, expanding offices. And I was able to double the collection in that time, which was a really amazing opportunity to look outside of the United States and Western Europe to find artwork by contemporary living artists in Singapore, Indonesia, Korea, China, Australia, Luxembourg, Zurich, a number of different places around the world. So really awesome. And I'm really proud of the collection we have now, which numbers about 2,700 pieces by about 1,100 different artists from about 45 different countries. So that's not what I came to talk about, but it's a big part of who I am and what I do for the firm, and really does set the tone with the foundation for a very humanistic culture at Wellington, a very research-based business that encourages people to look at things from multiple perspectives and points of view. And the art collection just creates and reinforces that dynamic working environment. Oops, you're on mute.
Very interesting roles.
Yeah, very different and
yeah.
not connected. So I didn't go into, and I'm happy to now, the foundation focuses on youth education programs that are really looking to serve students in historically underserved communities, and to offer education and educational opportunities that really have an impact on their, their life options. We don't fund arts programs, so it's very, very different. Two different worlds that I'm operating in.
Yes, yes, it sounds like it. Keeps you but keeps it interesting.
Yeah, and it's a
Yeah.
good balance. I mean, the art world has its glitz and its glamour, which I've never really been interested. I've always been much more interested in building relationships with artists and learning to see the world through their eyes and have that more genuine connection to art versus art as an investment vehicle or some sort of status symbol. But it's still, it's a little removed from, particularly in the last 5 years, the work that needs to be done just to meet people's basic needs and to make sure, they can live the best lives possible.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that
Sure.
about your work and the combination of the things you do. I did not know, and I'm sure I don't know if Padma knew, but I didn't know that this was it's extended outside of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
We have 17 or 18 offices globally, and
Okay.
I've had the chance to travel to a lot of them, not all of them,
Yeah.
but it was really a wonderful opportunity.
Yes, it sounds like it. Padma, welcome to the session today. We are happy to have you. Other people should be trickling in. This session will be recorded. So if you would like to opt out, you can tell me in the chat and we will make those edits. Thank you for being here. All right. Let's talk a little bit, Karen. Thank you so much for sharing that. How do you address systemic racism and gender inequity in your work?
Sure. So the foundation is a programmatic supporter of community programs. We define education broadly. We give to a range of programs from early education through college and career, secondary planning and workforce development. And then in between, a lot of schools and after school and summer programs. So we're putting a lot of band-aids on things. And, certainly we're looking for programs that have real impact and are really offering opportunities that can enhance the lives of these young people. But, we're not giving at a policy level or a district level or a state level for the most part to really drive change. And we're comfortable with that. We have really built a strategy that embraces a lot of employee volunteers to first conduct the due diligence on the organizations we're considering funding, and then build relationships with them, because we've committed essentially to 10 years of funding of these each program in our portfolio, and they're about 68 right now. So we fund for 10 years at a fixed amount of $60,000, and that will increase with inflation periodically.
Yes.
So, I think that level of transparency and predictability is really important in a field not known for that, where donors have been much more capricious in their year-to-year funding. But then I think also, I know also over the last few years, we have been very intentional in making sure that the programs that we're supporting are led by people in the communities that they're serving and who represent either through lived or learned experience, similar backgrounds to the young people that they're working with. We realize how important relationships are for young people and building trust and really opening themselves to the impact that these organizations seek to have. So we want to make sure that those are genuine and that the leadership is really, representative of the young people in the community. We also have we've supported the Institute for Nonprofit Practice for several years as sort of a DEI initiative to bring some of the learning and development opportunities to people of color in the nonprofit field. The kinds of opportunities that we at Wellington are offered as employees, to build our own careers and to accelerate our growth. It seems really important for young and emerging leaders in the nonprofit field to benefit from those kinds of opportunities as well. So we've been glad to support their programming as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm gonna point out, you said, we're putting Band-Aids, not you personally, but when the work of philanthropy, because there's such a great need, so it sounds like you are doing the best that can be, that can be done, without changing really the system, but in a way changing the system by providing opportunities that otherwise these students would not have.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt that the programs that we support are having an impact on individual students.
Yes.
I get that. I mean, that's essential. We shouldn't be doing this work if we're not making a difference. But I guess I was just trying to say that, like, we, for the most part, are not at the table as a thought leader with Boston Public Schools, Lawrence Public Schools, the Department of Early Education, secondary. We're not really engaged in driving systemic change.
Yes.
That we realize that's important in philanthropy, and I think there is a lot of conversation happening in that way. And we are starting to sort of dip our toes into supporting organizations that are at those tables. We made a major gift to Neighborhood Villages a couple of years ago to really move forward with some changes in the early education workforce space.
Yes.
And we're continuing that work currently with, a potential task force that's developing at the state level to bring some change to the early ed sector. So, we may do more and more in that, but, one of the hallmarks of our collection is that it really is a very democratic, employee-led foundation. And so to engage our employees in this work, to keep them involved and invested, at a minimal level, because they have day jobs.
Yes, yes.
I think, we need to be able to sort of touch and feel the programs themselves and not just get involved in, very heady, policy-based work. But we'll find a good balance, I think, over time, and maybe continue to shift more money towards the organizations that, another one that we've given to that I think is making some systemic changes is Boston After School and Beyond.
Yes.
And, supporting some work to really unify that sector and amplify their collective impact.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I hear from you, first of all, congratulations to Wellington management, for being, instead of being removed, as a lot of, funders are from, and you have chosen to be involved in the community that you are serving, to have, to include their feedback of the stakeholders and those who will be impacted, which is so necessary, because a lot of times, us leaders think we know what the answer is, because as we're looking outside, but it is crucial, as in this work, for us to really listen to those who are living these challenging situations, and hear from them what they need, and how we can best support, their needs. It also occurred to me that even though you're not doing macro levels, systemic change, you are disrupting these cycles. Let's just focus on one student. The hope is, that when they get these opportunities, that will impact the rest of their lives, and future generations to come. That's the way I like to see it, because if I focus too much on the macro, systemic change, it becomes overwhelming at times.
Yeah,
So it's
for
more,
sure.
so it's more, what can I do with what I have where I am to make the biggest impact?
Right. No, that's exactly true. And, hearing the stories back from our grantees and of successes with individual students is so important. And
Yes,
we like to share those as well.
yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, now let's move a little bit to Lead Boston.
Mm.
How has your participation in the Lead Boston program influenced your approach to leadership and equity?
I think in terms of leadership, someone in my program used this term and I've adopted it and I use it all the time. I think the term is dot connector. And that's really something I enjoy doing. And I enjoy bringing together good people who are working, in similar ways, or who I see can learn from each other. So I really embrace that role of a dot connector and, trying to be helpful when I can, to share information, to be transparent, and to, just encourage us all that we're working together and we're
Yes,
all, hoping for the same, results or end goals. So let's share, as much as possible. So that's one thing that I took away. I think Lead Boston also affirmed and reinforced for me the interconnectedness of, social service organizations, non-governmental organizations, and, the work that's being done to improve people's lives. And, we may have chosen just to focus on education, and people might think that's too limiting, but we do feel, we've reaffirmed this for ourselves too, that is the one lever that we think is most relevant to us in bringing about change and possibilities for social and economic mobility. But so some of the programs that we've added over the last couple of years do recognize the interconnectedness of the many challenges people face. So we have started supporting some mental health and social emotional learning programs that help students be prepared to learn. And we've also realized the sort of two-generational approach of certain programs and the importance of not just working with young children, but also working with their families and providing resources and support. So, I think I would credit Lead Boston again with sort of amplifying that for me, that interconnectedness.
Yeah, thank you
And of
so
course,
much.
there were a number of great personal connections that Lead
Yes.
Boston facilitated. So I'm very appreciative of that.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And that is one thing that I hear, and I'm glad that you emphasize that. Us that are, when we're out doing the work, leading organizations or leading departments, it's lonely. It's lonely. And I think for me, Lead Boston, as you say, was a way to make, have a network, start a network of individuals that have the same values, let's say, and the same goals, and also are willing to support each other. I often get calls from, some of my Lead Boston colleagues who's like, I'm going crazy here that, I'm
Mhm.
trying to get people back to the office and they don't want to come back. How do I do this in a way that is focused on equity, and
Mhm.
takes into account the impact that different policy organizational changes, have on individuals.
Yeah,
Um,
I think one other thing Lead Boston gave me was just the confidence to bring back to my board and to bring back to my work all of those, that importance of about equity and social justice and racial justice. And it gave, in subtle ways, just gave me the vocabulary, gave me the confidence, gave me the validation, I think, in that work.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so happy to hear that. Yes, I've heard so many things, from other alums, about how life-changing,
Mm.
the experiences and meeting people that you wouldn't have an opportunity to meet,
Yep. Yeah.
unless you were in this program together. So I really enjoy hearing that.
Yeah, I could
Yeah,
share, and I don't know if
yes,
this anticipates future questions, but
go
like
ahead.
the two most memorable experiences I have from Lead Boston Year was at the beginning when we were asked to go in a group to visit a neighborhood in Boston that we hadn't been to before. I ended up in East Boston for the first time
Yeah.
in the 20 plus years I'd lived in Boston, which was incredible. And, we sought out the healthcare center, we sought out the police station, we sought out the schools, the library, um, and then of course ended with a really good pizza at Santarpio's. But
Yes.
it was, and we also learned a little bit about the history of different immigrant groups who have sort of come through East Boston. So that was terrific. And
Yeah,
I've encouraged other people I know to do that and just
yes.
to sort of get out of their own zip code. And then the other experience, I had a chance to go to Boston Police headquarters, and I can't remember what the session was called, but it's where they have these data analysts presenting on different trends and on crime and calls and behavior of certain people that they're sort of watching. Anyway, that was fascinating to see how data sort of reinforces or drives some of the decision making at Boston Police. So I
Yes.
can't say that I remember any details about that, just the general, impression was that was pretty interesting. And that's an experience I'd never expect to get as a private citizen. So
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I remember in my class we went to Brighton, Alston. Yes, and it was I did my program in 22, so a lot of it was virtual, but for that
mhm,
one we were able to visit the Brighton and Alston community, which again I haven't been to in years,
mhm,
like you, and it just I think it expands, opens up, our perspective, um, about things that we don't think about, and yet they're so close to us, and
yeah,
they're connected to us. You're talking about your visit to East Boston. There's a large immigrant community there,
mhm,
and we hear a lot on the news everywhere about immigrants, but to actually get to see what it's like, what their life is like, what
mhm.
challenges they face, and what are the businesses and organizations that are there to support them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah, there's so many stories that come out of the Lead Boston program. It's amazing. Okay, Karen, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders who are passionate about advancing equity in the field?
Hmm. I think it's important to build networks through places like Lead Boston or professional networks. There are a couple in the education philanthropy space that I'm part of. Because I don't think you need to go this alone. I don't think you should go this
No.
alone. There's a
Yes.
lot to learn from others. and there's a lot that can be adopted or adapted, that's already working pretty well.
Yes.
So, I think that's important. And I think, specific to the type of role that I have, as the executive director and program manager, I'm tapped into all of this, but I need to also be able to get my advisory board, believing in the importance of trust-based philanthropy, equity, transparency, the interconnectedness, that's a big challenge, I think, to get those who really control the money,
Yes.
to follow the advice and the learnings of the people, the intermediaries like me, who connect with the community and are trying to build these strategies. So yeah, the more that you can connect yourself on the ground, I think the better you'll be able to make the case for this work,
Yes.
to others who might control the money or the power.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that, because one thing that I hear a lot for years in Boston is how there are many resources, but there's a lot of silos. And individuals might be doing the same work or the same, addressing the same gap in needs, but they're doing it, on their own. So I like the part, where you say that, why don't we connect? Like you said before, the dot connector, why don't we connect, with those groups that are pushing forward, it's an initiative, and join forces, because there's so much more power when we work together.
Yeah, I mean, that's the logical next step from, just sharing information to actually working together.
Yes.
To support something in a bigger way. And we haven't really yet been part of that, but it's something that I'm hopeful that we'll grow into and could be a part of our strategy.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you're already doing wearing multiple hats, and doing this work, as being, like you said, the middle person, sort of like the one who brings the information back, the one who takes the information to the community. Very, very a crucial aspect of this. And as a woman in leadership, that must be challenging. I assume.
Yeah, have I had those kinds of challenges? Yeah, I gotta be careful what I say here.
Yes.
'Cause I know this is recorded.
Yeah.
I have a lot of, I am, well recognized at the firm as the subject matter expert in this work. I am, I'm comfortable with my compensation. I'm comfortable with my, work flexibility. But every once in a while, I think to myself, if I was a man, I guess, isn't there a Taylor Swift song like that? If I was a man, I do think things would be slightly different, in all those regards. But, on the day to day, I really don't face those kinds of hurdles. And I really enjoy my role at the firm. I'm completely a lone wolf. I'm very unique. I'm not an investor. I'm not client service. I'm not human resources. I'm not finance. And seriously, at the end of the day, I'm just doing nice things for people. So people at the office appreciate that. So it's a good position to be in.
Yes, yes. And you've earned that, being regarded, as the expert, when it comes to what you do. And I don't know if Padma is familiar with Wellington Management, but I always, talk about you and commend, your organization for taking, those extra steps. It's not just one, it's a lot of steps you take, to make sure that you have all the information, the data you need, to be able to be where you can be most effective. Yeah, so I appreciate that. And also just want to emphasize the part of, about building your network. It gets lonely at the top, as I said before, and it is so important, to have a network that that you can count on.
Mhm.
And call, or if you're stuck, if there's a hurdle, or if you're looking to start an initiative and want some partners, it's always good to have somebody.
Yeah.
None of us can do this alone. And you mentioned the interconnectedness of it all, because we are all impacted by
Mhm.
what happens in any other field. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. All right. Is there anything else you would like to share about your work or experience?
Um, no. I mean, I think I'm coming back to Lead Boston after COVID. I'm sure many people had the same
Yes.
experience. There was a flurry of alumni activity, in the year or so after I participated, then COVID hit.
Yes.
But I think in terms of building networks and staying connected with people, I think Lead Boston has produced a really outstanding alumni community. Um, I shouldn't be surprised, but it's always wonderful to hear when I meet someone that they also went through the program at a
Yes.
certain point. So, I think maybe moving forward, I hope to make more of that and to, reignite some of those relationships, that Lead Boston has helped introduce.
Thank you so much for that, Karen. Yeah, then
Sure.
you're absolutely right. I have been seeing, as now, I've stepped into this role of being responsible, for providing that community for Lead Boston.
Mhm.
I see, I reach out to people. There's over 1,000 alums,
Wow.
and sometimes I'll get somebody, join the community platform, and they're like 1996 Lead Boston. And it just makes my heart feel good that we have been, together doing this work for so long before it was a thing,
Yeah, yeah.
and even after it's a thing, we're still committed to this work. It's very personal, which I'm sure you understand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Well, thank
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, Padma, do you have any questions or comments?
Um, Thank you, Adriana and Karen, for this time. I am the class of 2021, so
Oh,
except for uh, an optional social event, we were completely virtual. We had no
yes.
opportunity at all to meet in person. And so I guess I wanted to ask, what strategies would you share to help really nurture and increase the virtual connection?
Okay. I can start, and if Karen wants to jump in after that. I would, as you may have seen, if you're a member of the YW Boston Connect platform, I am working on building out that platform, so that it's a place that Lead Boston alums and other YW Boston partners can come, not just to connect, which is fine, because that's important for us to stay connected, but to be able to find resources. Let's say that you're hosting a meeting or you're thinking about starting an initiative, having those resources available for you in that platform, hosting live events like this at a time that is convenient for you, so that you can start connecting with other Lead Boston alums and find, and you find some common ground. You might be in the same field as somebody else, and start nurturing that community. I am working on having also more in-person events, sort of like alumni reunions that we can do. I started at YW Boston just 5 months ago. So I will also say to you, Padma, that if you have any anything you want to share, about things that you would like to see made available to you, on demand, right, right instantly, please share those with me, because I don't want to build this community without everybody's feedback. I want, your voices to be heard and to make sure that I'm meeting the needs. I do also understand how challenging it is. There's like a million social media platforms, so we're trying to make this one as comprehensive and engaging, as possible. So I would say, visit us, visit the YW Boston Connect community feed, where you get to meet and hear from other Lead Boston alums on what they're doing. I always ask people to share, what is going on? How can we support you? Do you mind me asking, Padma, what field are you in?
So I'm in transition. When I
Oh,
did the Lead Boston program, I was an independent nonprofit consultant,
okay.
and the Lead Boston program amplified what I had been thinking about, which was I want to transition primarily into the DEI space. More broadly, I have a very strong interest in human resources through employee engagement, employee employee resource groups. So, and then I have a background in client relations.
Oh,
I had done volunteer management professionally for 3 different Girl Scout councils, more recently, the Girl Scouts of Eastern Mass.
oh,
So I realized while I was in the program, I no longer want to just be an independent consultant. And I'm very
yes,
grateful for the platform. I didn't expect to learn as much online. It was still a challenge,
yes,
honestly. And yet I was very impressed with what YW Boston was offering at that time. And it's solidified, as I said, my
yes,
interest both in DEI and then continuing on to just infuse in whatever I do. So,
yes. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Padma. A
Mhm.
very comprehensive background, it sounds like you have, which I love. And I will, if it's okay with you, I'm going to reach out to you so we can have a chat
oh,
and
sure. Yes,
on
thank
Zoom,
you.
yeah, and see how we can start getting you more involved in the network and how we can support you as you go into your next step. Yeah.
Thank you.
Karen, would you like to add anything to Padma's question?
Well, sure. I'd also be glad to connect afterwards.
Yes,
Thank you.
We have employee resource groups. I'm part of the benefits team, and our head of benefits sees community engagement as one of the 5 key pillars of employee wellness. So that's, a philosophy that's, permeates our firm. Yeah, so I'd be glad to share more, about that as well.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Karen and Padma. See, this is one of the goals of this. Again, we just connected, you two just connected, and this is how it works, connecting all those dots so that we have like a whole body, of connected change makers
Yep.
for the city of Boston. Yes. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. It is 12:46. As I said, this session is recorded. It will be edited, of course, and then we will be sharing it after Karen reviews it on our resource on the YW Boston Connect page, so that other alums are also able to participate and benefit from it. This is the first, so I would like to thank Karen for agreeing, being brave and taking the first. And I am hoping and, expecting that as we continue to do these and other events, more people will join now that we're sort of like getting back into a sort of normal life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great that it's recorded, and so if people are watching this
Yes.
later, I am on LinkedIn, so you can connect that way or through the portal at any time. Happy to meet new people and to reconnect with some old friends.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Karen, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to continuing this work with you. And
Likewise.
we really appreciate having you, in this fight to eradicate racism and empower women.
Right.
And good to hear from some powerful women like both of you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for bringing this together.
Thank you. Padma,
you.
enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.